I'm going to show you the button library. So let's say you have make a nice program which does a little something, and you want to add some buttons. So what you can do is use the standard library of Codea, but you can use this library in these parameters here, and you can use it only in standard mode. You cannot use it in full screen. So I have designed a library. I'm going to show you a button library. So what you do first is you add a tab here. This tab, you name it buttons. Okay, and here you paste the code I have published on the forum. So this is the code. In this code, so I have to go back to the top to show you a little bit what is in this code. Okay, so the top part here you see the instructions. You see a few instructions. I have first this tab must be named buttons, or you can change it if you want. Here you can use another name, but you have to indicate it here. And then you have to install the library at 3 locations. So in the setup you have to put this line. In the draw you have that will add a draw buttons line, and in the touch you have to add this line. So I'll go into the main tab. I have already prepared that, so I just uncomment the lines so you can see how this runs. Okay, now if I run, what do I see? Now you see that first you are no longer in the full screen mode, you are in a standard mode, and you have a series of parameters visible on your left. So we will start by adding new buttons by pressing on this new button here. So this adds one button. You can drag and drop it where you want, so I will drag and drop it here. I add, so now I can, you see that the data has changed here. So the parameters here are all the parameters you can change for this button. For instance, we can change the text by pressing text, and here I will put bigger. Okay, now back, and I will add another button, so back again, and I push, and I have a second button, so it's text 2 here, put below, and I change it to, I will call that smaller. Okay, now I do back. I'm going to save this by tapping this button, Save Changes. If you forget, it's not saved, so remember that. And now I have those buttons here. When I press them, well, nothing happens. So what we want is to add some callback to this button. So to remember how this works, I have implemented that if you tap a button, you have here this this information just below back, which is how to use this button. So you just have to tap here, and then to copy this section. And now if we go back, and if we paste this here, after this location, paste. Okay, so what you see is a kind of help on how to use the button. So basically, the first line is to get a pointer to the button, and the second line defines the callback. Here we are going, and I show you also 4 four fields that you may want to use, which is the name of the button, the text that is used for the label, and two booleans, one which is the state and one which indicates if the button is visible, or which it sets if the button will be visible or not. So I will remove all that for now, and I will just make button 1, so it was the bigger one. So I pasted this here. I will make the image bigger, and button 2, the next button will be button 2, so I can just copy, paste. I can change it for button 2 here, button 2 here also, and I can make it smaller. So now if I run, nothing has changed and nothing happens if I tap here. This is because we are in edit mode. So I have to go back on the top level, and you see that there is this button here which says edit mode true false. So if I tap now, I leave the edit mode and I am in the running mode. So now the buttons callback will work, but I cannot edit the buttons. So if I tap on bigger, you see that the circle gets bigger because I have put a callback. If I tap smaller, the circle gets smaller because the callback works. So this is fine. Now I'm going to add two buttons, so I go back in the edit mode and I add a new button. I will put it there, and I add okay, this button will be a button to let's say what do I want to do? Yeah, I want to stop the rotations, so I will modify this. I will call it this button I will call rotate. Okay, and I make another button which which will be used to edit, to hide the buttons on the right. So I call it hide. Okay, now I want these buttons. I don't want them to be push buttons. I want them to be. Oh, this is strange. It doesn't show correctly. This is push button here. I want it not to be push button. This one also. Okay, so it's push button. It should not be a push button too. Okay, and I should remember to save the changes, otherwise we have a problem. Okay, now I can go out and I can add my two more buttons. So now it's button 3. Which was the rotate button. So I will change the rotation speed with it. So now it's this button doesn't come back to its initial position automatically. So if I run it, you will see that when I press here, it stays there. So now the rotate stops, and now the rotate is on. On, off, on, off. Last thing, I'm going to illustrate how you can modify the internal state of buttons by playing with button 4, which is the hide one. This. In this one I will make button 1 and button 2 visible or invisible. So this is how I will do that. So button 1 will be visible as the state of this button 4, and button 2 it is the same. Okay, so what do we have now? Now if I can make bigger if I want, and if I want to hide, this will hide the buttons that were there. They are not there, they are not active. Just by pressing here I release them and they come back here. And the rotate is working same, so stop, run, stop, etc. Well, that's okay. And last thing I want to show you. Now the whole idea was to do that in full screen. So once you are finished with edition, you can select this here, put false, and now when you run, the thing will run in full screen. So you can notice that your buttons are located at the same place where you have put them. So buttons that are in this corner are located referring to the right part of the display. Here is the left part, the bottom, the top. So buttons will stay roughly located with reference to the edge where they were. And you see that the buttons are working. I can stop the rotation, I can hide the button if I want. Okay, you can do whatever you want. There are a lot of possibilities to modify directly the aspect of those buttons. So I have not tested it very much, but it seems to work okay. So you can try it and have fun. Let me know what you think.